I want to welcome all of our executives here that have made it to this meeting. And if you're here, it's because you are the real deal. And I just want to say how honored I am that you're spending your time with us and this mission, and that it's about helping families as well as helping our own families, right? To get what we want in life. And I just want to thank so many people here who have put in tens or hundreds or thousands of hours in some cases for this project and working every single day. So we will help 1 million families get out of debt. It's our mission, it's our destiny. That is what we've been given. That's the task at hand, and we're going to do it together. Can we clap on that one? Yes?
Yes.
So let's go over the 11 major attributes of leadership. Would all of you consider that since you're on this meeting that you're a leader? Yes?
Absolutely.
You're in leadership, right? So these are not always easy, but I read these first about 30 years ago, and I continue to read them because I continue to need to improve myself all the time, right? How many of us need to keep improving?
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like people say, well, oh, you made a mistake or you're not perfect. I'm like, well, that's why we're human, right? Like if we weren't making mistakes and we were perfect, we wouldn't even be here in the first place, right? So the 11 attributes of leadership. Number 1, willingness to assume full responsibility. The successful leader must be willing to assume, responsibility for the mistakes and the shortcomings of their followers. If they try to shift the responsibility, that person will not remain the leader. If one of their followers makes mistakes and shows themselves as incompetent, the leader must consider that it is them who failed.
And when we got it right, our business went through the moon. And I think that's a lot of times with a lot of companies is the owner they just blame it on the field.
Right.
They're not working hard enough, or they're not doing this. And a lot of times it's us as leaders or us as owners aren't providing the right opportunity for the field to succeed. And now I think we have everything in place for the field to succeed. And I just relate back to my own experience of that. And when I started in networking, almost 30 years ago, I wasn't the right leader I needed to be. So I had to personally grow to attract the people that I wanted to attract. And a lot of times, we always think like it's them, but it's really us a lot of times. And we need to grow personally. That's why it's so important to always work on yourself, always do personal growth, always do things that are improving you, because then you'll attract the right people.
Amen. Amen. Hey, let's give it up on that, because that's where we all got to be as leaders, right? I mean, people are going to let us down in our team, and we have to accept responsibility.
Yeah.
Even when you don't feel it's your fault, you just say, it's my fault. Let's go.
Absolutely.
Let's fix it. All right. Very good. Excellent. So I'm telling you, why I'm going through this. This has changed my life. Definiteness of decision. If you waver in your decision or you're not sure of yourself, then you can't lead others successfully. Great leaders have the habit of making decisions quickly and changing them very slowly. Making decisions quickly and changing them very slowly. Who would like to give an example of that in your business where you've made a fast decision and you stuck to it and you changed it very slowly, if at all?
Okay. Hey, there were several times I've used that one because we always say, people who've had success make decisions very quickly, change them very slowly, but also the opposite is true. People who take a long time to make a decision, they change them rapidly, and you'll see them jumping from company to company.
Yep.
So I use it a lot of, it took me a quick decision to say, okay, I'm joining with Savings Outlet Global. Once that decision is made, I'm not going to pop around to different other things. I'm looking at, this is going to be the one that's going to be the home. Okay, let's build it. And then that leads me back to the first one that you had, leaders take responsibility, technically for the good and the bad, is if my group is not moving the way I want it to move, the organization, first of all, it falls on me. So once the decision is made, Then it comes down to evaluating, okay, what am I doing right now? If the team is not moving the way I need it to move now, the decision is made to go senior executive. Now that decision is not negotiable. Okay, so now I got to work on me to make sure I'm doing the things necessary first, because I can make that quick decision, but now comes the work and the follow through on the decision is made. And it's hard to get me off of that decision that already has been made. So it's not like if it's not going the right way, then we're going to get wandering eyes. We're going to go out and do something else. Lock in, focus on it. And then every day you figure out, how can you get better? How can I get better in the process? And that's what I'm doing, studying and working on me. Right. So decision made, and you act on it quickly and you stay with it.
So Chris, just, how many opportunities have come across your desk since the less than a year that you've been with us, and you've made this decision to be with Savings Highway Global, and you're not wavering, and you're not saying yes to anything else, and you're here, and you're making now the kind of money that can pay the bills. And I know it's going to get 10 times, 50 times, maybe 100 times bigger, right? So how many different things have come across, and you've seen people go, jumping the grass is greener, but it's not. How many?
Well, it's a lot of things that pop up, and it kind of shocks me sometimes on the people that are calling me, because those are the same people that say they weren't looking for anything when I spoke with them. And now all of a sudden they've jumped into something, and I'm reminding them, say, hey, wait a minute now. I'm giving you my answer up front. I'm not looking right now. I'm locked in. This is what I'm doing. And they said, well, are you making the kind of money that you want to make? I said, well, listen, in every company I've been in, when I'm first launching it, I'm never making the kind of money I wanted to make. So that means that you make a decision, you work the business. All I need to know is the comp plan is going to pay out, the service is going to work, and if the company's not going to let me down, they're going to do what they need to do, then I don't have to look right, look left. You can just stay focused and keep working and building. And it's going to happen. You're only one recruit really away from a new surge. So anytime I look at it as the momentum is not kicking in, it's not doing what it needs to do, that just means, again, as a leader, I got to go out and put some new people in. But it's not like I need another opportunity to be able to get there, because now you got 3, 4, 5 things. I'm not knocking anybody who's doing it, but my thing is, if you got blinders on, that's why, my grandfather used to race horses, and they would put blinders on those horses. And the blinders was there to make sure that they didn't have to really see other objects on the right and the left, because distraction, the definition is meant to distract you. So as long as you're not getting distracted, the magic is going to happen. That one leg took me to that top position in that company, but it was because we were already prepared and we were working and working and working. And as a result, that's where the momentum took off, and the income went to multiple 5 figures a month, and we never looked back from that point. So again, it's the focus, it's the dedication, and it's you staying on what it is that that's the right thing. And it doesn't matter about the glitz and glamour, and because some of the people who are showing you the new car that they just got or whatever it is, 6 months from now, that opportunity may not even be paying them out.
Very good. And I like what you said there. I see Ken's face. You got it. You're just one recruit away from a new surge. And it's putting in that extra time, going the extra mile. So thank you, Chris, for sharing with that. Going back to here, definite plans. A successful leader must plan their work, and work their plan. My band teacher was a great guy. He really got me into saxophone and really got me kicked on it. And he used to say, by failing to plan, you're planning to fail.
Absolutely.
And that is so true, folks. And you need to go the night before. You need to think about your perfect day at work and your perfect day at play. How is your day going to be tomorrow? A leader who moves by guesswork without practical, definite plans is comparable to a ship without a rudder. Sooner or later, they hit the rocks. So we want to have our plans really solid. We want to know our compensation. We want to know, hey, I want to hit that 32 grand a month. This is what I got to do. And I'm sending a challenge out for all of you, as we just say, Greg just says, hey, I brought 2 people today. Or this week. That is fantastic. Greg, great job. what I want to challenge all of you in a definiteness of plans, you need to develop at least one manager every week. Develop one person every week, and you watch how rich you will be in a year. It's great. Bring somebody in, but develop a manager, somebody with 3 every single week. How many of y'all can get behind that and say, yes, I can do that? Let me hear.
Yes, I can do that.
Yes, I can do that.
Unwavering courage,
Yes,
baby.
indeed, I can do that.
Unwavering courage. Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Based on the knowledge of yourself and one's occupation, no follower wishes to be led by a leader who lacks self-confidence and courage.
That's true.
True.
Look at my face. Do I have confidence and courage?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I practice with these sticks. Y'all might think it's funny. I practiced with these sticks for about 25 years. I got my confidence and my courage.
All right.
But what else did I do? I read the 11 principles of leadership that we're going over tonight. I read the 17 principles of success. I listened to How to Win Friends and Influence People. How many of you have listened to How to Win Friends and Influence People?
Absolutely. By Dale Carnegie.
How
Yes,
many of
sir.
you listened to it in the
Love
last?
that,
How many of you have listened to it in the last year?
Yes.
I have.
There you go. You know, we have some people in the company, great leaders, very abrasive. I said, you know what? You need to listen to How to Win Friends and Influence People. Because right now, I want to do that. I love you. Keep making us money, but you got to know how to deal with people.
Right.
A sincere compliment, right? Ken, I love that background in that shirt, buddy. You look great. David, David, thank you so much for helping. Man, I just met you for the first time in Atlanta. You spent the whole time, while you should have been just relaxing and enjoying, you spent the whole time volunteering to help us with the video technology issues we had. Thank you so much, David.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Ray,
Yes,
Absolutely, man.
Greg Ray, it's so nice to have you on this call, man. I've communicated with you for 3 or 4 years, and you are here. Derek Taylor, my new buddy. Man, I commend you on what you're doing and the work you're putting in. Y'all, you got to be like that. You got to be like that. You got to give sincere compliments, right?
Yes.
Not fake, sincere
No. Right.
compliments. All right, let's get back to it. This is fun, no? Okay. A keen
It is
sense
fun,
of
yes.
justice. Without a sense of fairness and justice, no leader can command and retain the respect of their followers.
Right.
And it's like how you do the little things or how you do the big things.
Well, I want to add to that too, because you've had plenty of people who've started other companies, went to other companies, and even my former company, we would deactivate people. You don't do that. You always let people market other companies, not on calls, obviously, like this, but you literally have always been the fairest owner I've ever met in the industry, where
Absolutely.
you pay people regardless, no matter what the situation is. And, you know, I respect that because a lot of owners don't do that. And you have had more fair justice than anyone I've seen in my 30 years in the industry.
Well, I appreciate that very much. And as a friend and a business partner.
Yeah.
But, you know, folks, it's like this. If you will rob a penny, you will rob a million. Because it's the same thing.
Amen.
It's the same thing.
Yep.
Yeah. You're the most honest I've seen in 30 years. No,
Well,
no.
I'm not perfect, but we try. But, you know, never intentionally do something to rob somebody ever. You know, in the Science of Getting Rich, it talks about every business transaction needs to be good for you, good for the other person, and good for the world. It's got to be 3 things is good for you, the other person, and good for the world. Bill Constane has taught me a lot about business and how to negotiate and how to make sure, yeah, you want to get yours, but you also want to make sure everybody's happy.
That's right.
Mhm.
And I really want to thank you, Bill, so much for all the help that you've given this company. And I mean, he turned down $1 million in volume in another company to come here.
Wow.
How many people will do that?
People are going to do what they do, you know, and there's a lesson again. One great networker can be worth 10,000 plus customers.
Mhm.
So that's what some of the top networkers in the industry, they focus on, on networkers. They're going to follow up with them every so often, every month, every quarter. Hey, just want to check in. You still liking what you're doing? You open and taking a look. People that are making 6 and 7 figures elsewhere, keep them on their list, send them a birthday card, let them know you're here. We got an opportunity. You got a home. It was a gentle reminder for me to say, hey, keep staying in touch of your big networkers, because, all of a sudden, if they see what's going on and they come to a call, they come to a meeting and they get it, that could be 5,000, 10,000 new associates or new partners in your business.
True.
So that happened to me just a few hours ago. So,
And the thing is, there's not any other company that I know of where the people save more money than they spend.
Yeah.
So smart people look at serve the masses, dine with the classes, right?
yes.
Do we have to keep tweaking our marketing and keep getting better until it flows like a machine where there's a million customers? Yes. But we're going to get there because we have the foundation of you can save more than you spend.
That's right.
The other companies, you got to go buy something new, convince somebody else to buy something new, right? That's the difference. That's why we're changing this industry. Cooperation. We're doing it right now. The successful leader must understand and apply the principle of cooperative effort and be able to induce their followers to do the same. Leadership calls for power, and power calls for cooperation. And I want to thank you all for being here. This is one of the reasons, the mastermind group, we're here together to cooperate in this mission to help people. Self-control. The person who cannot control themselves can never control others. Self-control sets a mighty example for one's followers. This is the big one that I share with my kids all the time. The habit of doing more than paid for. How many times do the kids, they just want to do the bare minimum to get by, right? One of the penalties of leadership is the necessity of willingness upon the part of the leader to do more than they require of their followers. Now, I'm going to change that. I look at that as a blessing. One of the blessings of leadership is the necessity of willingness upon the part of the leader to do more than they require of their followers. Now, let's talk about that one. Who wants to weigh in here? Think about this. It's like my martial arts teacher told me. He says, you cannot ask your students to do anything that you can't do double. No, Pastor Isaiah, let's go to you on this one.
But just real quick, I just want to piggyback on something that was said just a second ago by Bill. And that played out today with Sister Faith and me. And that is, you don't know who that one person may be. So you have to become like the bulldog. The bulldog nose is tilted back so he can breathe while he's still holding on to you. So when you take a look at all of that, I look at the principle of a child. When you look at our children, how many of y'all remember telling your child they couldn't get a cookie? And what did that child, what was the next thing out of that child's mouth? Can I have a cookie?
Exactly.
Yeah, or why?
Why?
Look here, you got to become like a child, man. A child is tenacious. They don't care nothing about what you say. They want that cookie.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're not going to stop until they wear you down to get it. And that's the way we have to be in this business. Sometimes we just have to be very, very tenacious, because whatever we like will show up in our conversation, but what we're committed to is going to show up in our actions and our activities. So those are the things that I look at. And you mentioned mastermind group a moment ago. When I sit here and I listen at guys like Jeb, Chris, Ken, Bill, I mean, not that these guys walk on water, they just know where all of the rocks are. But the point about these guys is that they've been through so many battles, and they are battle scars. So if they lift up their shirt, you'll see a lot of scars on their backs because they've endured a lot more than most of us have. And so just sitting here listening at what's being said, you listen and you learn and you absorb it. And then all of a sudden it begin to be reproduced in your mind and your activity. Your conversation begin to change. Your self-confidence begins to grow. Then all of a sudden you become that beast that you saw in others. Now you see that hair growing out of you because you are now becoming that person you so desire to be. So it's a very, very encouraging thing. And I like everything that's going on, Steve. And one of the major things, and Jeb said it, integrity goes a long way. You know, you can't lose that. You cannot lose your personal integrity. You can't do it. And man, and you got that in abundance and your transparency with it. So when the leader accepts 100% responsibility for the team, then everything rises and falls on leadership. He seeks great leaders so he can learn how to become a better leader. And that's what these calls do for me.
I don't know everybody's, situation, your marriage, whatever, but I've got a marriage now where I'm putting 100% and she's putting 100%. When you get that,
you're going to have success.
You got 100 times 100. You got 10,000%.
Hey, Steve, I wanted to add what Pastor said, integrity, and I think I said it on the stage, but it's really important to say this, and I know you guys know this, but it's good to hear again, is doing the right things even when people are not looking. And that's just doing what's right even when you think no one's looking. Because someone's looking. Well, if you're a believer, you have the Holy Spirit, God is watching all the time. But if you think you're going about your business or your personal life and no one's looking, and you're like, you know what, maybe I'm just going to slip a little bit here. That's that. And whether it's in your personal life or in your business, that's how bad habits develop. That's planting the seeds for bad habits. So simply, if you put it in front of you and say, you know what, I'm going to do what's right, whether someone's looking or someone is not looking. And that's how you stay high integrity, high compliance.
That's true.
And that's how you keep, at a high happiness and satisfaction and fulfillment.
Because you feel proud of yourself.
Feel proud of yourself.
My mom used to tell me, God rest her soul, she used to tell me, the truth will set you free and your lies will find you out.
Yes. Lies have short legs. They got real short
and that's why
legs.
people say, oh, Steve, you have integrity. I was like, I'm afraid of what my mama said.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Let's go back.
Good stuff.
Wow, this is so powerful. We got the habit of doing more than paid for. So when you go to the grocery store and somebody else didn't put their buggy, that's my simple example. Take their buggy too and put it up.
Right.
Just do that. Everybody, let's agree. We're going to all do that this week. If you go to the store and you see somebody didn't put their buggy up, put their buggy up too. That's the way to get started. Okay, a pleasing personality. Well, one of my mentors always said, funny means money. But those genuine compliments, right? No slovenly, careless, or unpleasant person can be successful leadership. Leadership calls for respect. You got to have a nice personality. Smile at people. We're going to practice smiling in a minute. Sympathy and understanding. The successful leader must be in sympathy with their followers. I teach this all the time. Feel, felt, found. I know exactly how you feel. I felt the same way. This is what I found. Moreover, they must understand them and their problems. So you need to understand when the person is not being successful, when they're, a lot of people who text in, into the company and they say, I didn't find any savings, or my sponsor won't talk to me, or they're complaining about something. And I know that all they have to do is make a decision to look for what's right instead of looking for what's wrong. Like, I know that, right? But I have to put myself in their shoes and say, I understand what you're talking about, and ask them some questions. And you know what will happen is eventually they'll come around and say, oh, well, thank you so much for helping me. I get it now, and they feel so much better. But you could have just said like, oh, no, you're right. You're wrong. I'm right. But that doesn't get you anywhere, right? Just put yourself in their shoes and understand them. It's the principles of leadership, right? That's what we're talking about today. All of you are leaders. Mastery of detail. Successful leadership calls for mastery of details of the leader's position. The 11 major attributes of leadership. Assume full responsibility for the people in your team. When they mess up, assume responsibility, take over and help them out. Definiteness of decision. You got to know what you want, where you're going. Definiteness of plans. You got your comp plan. You got your situation. You got your work ethic. You know, I know Rachel Perry. She's calling. She knows exactly how many people she's calling a day, how many businesses she's calling a day, and she gets results. Unwavering courage. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. It's okay. You only live once. Live bold. Keen sense of justice. Always be fair. Always be honest. Cooperation. You got to have people on your team working together. Self-control. Don't go out and get super drunk. Don't do drugs. Don't eat too much. Just control yourself, but control your anger. This one I had to work on. Control my anger. How many things do we have to work on our control in our lives? Do more than you're paid for. I'm going to give myself a 10 on this one. I am. Because I get up and I work and I work and I work for this company and for you. I do more than I pay for, and I want everybody to follow that. Okay. Pleasing personality. Some people are going to like you, some not. Just do your best. Sincere compliments. And be a pleasant, smiling person. Sympathy and understanding. Understand other people's problems, their fears. You know, mastery of detail. Master your benefits. Master your compensation. Master your work ethic. All right? And then you have become a more powerful leader. So give yourself a hand for being here tonight. And I want you to say, I am a leader.
I am a leader.
I am a leader.
I am a leader.